Hello, friends. The refrain so many of us are hearing from our family and friends in Israel is Ein Milim. There are no words. The tragedy we are encountering is unlike anything most of us have seen or experienced in our lifetimes. And words that might otherwise help us understand or make sense of a traumatic situation often fail us. This morning I was on a Zoom meeting during which we received an update from Rabbi Dr. Shlomo Brody. Rabbi Brody is the executive director of the Halachic Organ Donor Society in Israel. He is a writer and journalist and a junior fellow at the Israel Democracy Institute. In 2014, he received the National Jewish Book Award. He's a graduate of Harvard University and received his rabbinic ordination from the Israeli Chief Rabbinate. He has a master's in Jewish philosophy from Hebrew University and a PhD from Bar Ilan Law School, where he continues to serve as a postdoctoral fellow. Originally from Houston, Texas, Rabbi Brody now lives in Modi'in with his family. Modi'in is an Israeli city located in central Israel, about 22 miles southeast of Tel Aviv and almost 20 miles west of Jerusalem. Modi'in is famous for being the ancient place of origin of the Maccabees of Hanukkah fame. The modern city was built in the 20th century. When we heard from Rabbi Brody this morning, he told us that if the sirens went off while he was speaking, he would have to retreat to his shelter, and apologized in advance if this happened. He told us that everyone in Israel was attending funerals regularly and going to multiple Shiva gatherings every evening. Everyone, he said, was deeply, deeply worried about what is now estimated to be about 200 hostages held in Gaza by Hamas. Rabbi Brody said that our tradition's teaching around death need to be accessed during this crisis. He reminded us that in our tradition, there is a word for a person who has lost a loved one and has not yet buried that loved one yet. This status is called aninut. It is also the status of not knowing the whereabouts of your loved ones when they are in imminent danger. The person in this state is in a suspended reality and is not responsible for the normal mitzvot, the usual Jewish spiritual directives. In our Torah, when Aaron, the older brother of Moses and the first high priest of our people, hears of the tragic death of his two older sons, Nadav and Avihu, the text says, Vayidom Aharon, and Aaron was silent. It is one of the most powerful silences in our tradition. There were simply no words. Rachel Itun is an Israeli family therapist and a leader of the spiritual care community in Israel. She writes about the quality of silence we can experience when faced with the unimaginable. She writes, "It is a time to listen carefully to this frightening silence, as if collecting shattered letters from the ground, searching for words to describe the thoughts, emotions, the feelings." She continues, "It will take time to create a new language. It will take time to understand. It will also take time to understand even deeper what we really do not understand, that we really do not understand much of anything. Our conversation is about the importance of accepting our own vulnerability, daring to talk about the unspoken, acknowledging brokenness, as a part of life. End quote. This morning, Rabbi Brody told us that the way the Israelis are coping with this enormous tragedy is through one central Jewish value: chesed, loving kindness. He said that so many Israelis have no idea what to do with themselves, so they are doing for others. They are bringing clothes and food to centers that are housing the more than 500,000 people who have had to be evacuated from their homes in the south along the border with Gaza, and those who live in the north near the border with Lebanon. People are taking badly needed basic supplies to army bases, overcrowded with more than 300,000 reservists who have been mobilized to try to protect Israel. People are showing up at overwhelmed hospitals with blankets and food for families who are holding vigils for their wounded. Rabbi Brody reminded those of us on the call this morning that chesed is life-saving not only for the people in desperate need, but for those who are so badly shaken and feel lost and sick at heart, and can do something meaningful for those who are in demonstrable need. My friends, this is an important teaching for all of us who are experiencing the trauma ourselves. Many of us are finding it difficult to function, hard to concentrate, and struggling to pay attention to the latest news from Israel while trying not to be glued to our computers or televisions. Tomorrow evening, Wednesday, the 18th, at 7 p.m. at Beth Chaim, there's a meeting of our newly formed Israel Action Team led by Deborah Becker, Audra Saul, and her daughter Shanna. The purpose of this effort is directly in line with what Rabbi Brody taught, that acts of chesed are our best, most Jewishly grounded and healthy responses to the tragedy in Israel. We will gather tomorrow evening to mobilize resources, encourage a letter writing campaign to both political representatives and educators in our area. We will have QR codes for a whole range of well-recognized charitable organizations that are making a difference on the ground in Israel and need our support. We will share news and personal stories from inside Israel and discuss other ways to provide badly needed support. If you'd like to participate in this work, please RSVP here in the happenings. Come to this meeting, or if you cannot, but would still like to participate, please let us know. Thank you. Again, during this terrible time, we need to stay connected and share what we learned from family and friends on the ground in Israel. If you or anyone you know in our community just needs to talk, please call me. Have them call me. Let's continue to be there for one another during this most challenging time. Stay safe and be well. Shalom uvracha. Peace and blessings.